Introduce a couple people. We have Bryan Yates, who's going to be our speaker today from Yates Desygn. He's the owner. We have Catherine Nelson, who has worked very hard to coordinate everything for the Student Symposium. Ashlyn is a part of our team, and she also works for Sherman-Williams. And we have Laura McDonald. She is also on our team, and she has the one who does all of the media. She's fantastic at coordinating all of that. So Bryan's going to chat with us a little bit about what he does. He's been in design for a while. He started in New York and then moved back down to Dallas, and we are so grateful to have him. He's also the head of the Dallas Design ASID president, right?
Yeah. Here.
So welcome and thank you for joining us, and we're going to go ahead and start. It's going to be very casual. If you guys would like to type any questions that you'd like in the chat box, and we will address them as quickly as we can, but we want this to be pretty fluid, so if you have anything, please ask away. Bryan, if you want to go ahead and start.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's kind of an honor to just be able to, explain who we are as a company and how we work, but also, how we believe in being connected and what that really has done for my career. I started off as a landscape architect student at Texas Tech and practiced for about 6 years. I started off in Austin and then moved to Houston. And, I was really fascinated by the connection of landscape and interiors and that blurred line between what the two are and how they're so integrated as kind of one. And so I kind of kept thinking, what's my next steps and what do I want to be as a designer? And so what I ended up doing was decided to go to graduate school, where I applied to Pratt in New York and got accepted, went there and did a 3-year program. And that's when it really hit me who I am as a designer and who I want to be as a designer and how I want to take my career moving forward. And so what, sorry, I get distracted. Sorry, I squirrel, as probably all of us do. But anyway, what I did was really get heavily involved in my community in school and really just make sure that everyone kind of knew who I was, but how I could get involved and build in the organization in ASID. And I was also involved in IIDA there as well, but it was through those connections and really getting to know professors that were integrated in the organization, I think really opened all of the doors for me on where my career is right now and where I started. Through that really helped me to start my first job in interior design at Yabu Pushelberg in New York. It's a Canadian-based company out of Toronto that also has an office in New York as well. And, within that, I grew from being a junior designer to moving into a senior designer role there. And what I wanted to kind of start off with was just showing you a project that I did while I was there as a senior designer. Everything's a team based, but just kind of wanted to share a screen and kind of show exactly a project that I worked on. So while being at Yabu Pushelberg, had the opportunity of really working on some amazing projects, and not only in New York, but all over the world. I've worked in Singapore, Mumbai, Tokyo, a lot of places in the States. But one of the projects that I feel most proud of is the Four Seasons across from One World Trade Center. It is a Robert Stern building, and then Yabu Pushelberg did all the finish out for the hotel for interiors. And I worked on a team of 5 people for a long time that established this. And so I thought I would just show a couple of images of this project that is kind of near and dear to my heart. This is the entry into the hotel. These are just some great shots that, we really worked hard to achieve a really nice mix between a blend of feminine and masculinity throughout this whole project, and really create a hotel that was had such a sense of residential. And the nice thing about this hotel was it does have the hotel component, but then also has the residential component as well. And so this is just some of the public shots that we've taken are that I've grabbed from it. This is a hotel room that we worked on. Everything was custom. It was so enjoyable. It was so much fun. We did a live scale mock-up to have everything approved before moving forward. And it was just kind of a project that I'm really proud on, that I feel helped spear where I'm at currently. Just a couple really cool projects.
Beautiful.
A nice mixture of stone, a nice mixture of mixed metals, everything really being custom and exciting. This is the spa area. So it's the lounge going into the spa, which also has a pool that's on the 9th floor. And it has a full spa, manicure, pedicure area as well. This is kind of a shot that I took with my iPhone before furniture was taken. But, we did some really amazing slabs, a cool mural in the back that was by local artists. So just thinking about, how we integrate. And then from there, I'll stop sharing real quick. From there, I worked a lot of hours and was, wanting to figure out what my next steps again were. And so decided to branch off and start my firm with my husband. And we decided to move to Dallas, which has been such a great opportunity for us. And we kind of just took a big step in knowing that we wanted to start a business, but not necessarily already having clientele to start that. And so we took a huge leap, moved to Dallas, not knowing a single person here. And it was through, again, the connection of our design community is how we started to get involved. Because what's amazing about the Dallas design community, ASID, at least our chapter here in Dallas, is everyone kind of works together and is able to collaborate. We're not collaborating on projects, but we're collaborating on really just picking our brain on, if you have questions, like who would you use for this, or what tile installer or vendor, or just, helping each other out as much as possible. And so it was really through the community, ASID, but also through just getting involved as much as possible, going to as much events as we could, really was crucial in our career here. We've been here 4 years now, and from starting out not knowing a single person to now having a team of 5, we really have just thrived on building that relationship. And it's always interesting because you never know who you're going to get to know, right? And you never know who those people are going to help to open those doors. And it's really through building this community that we're really passionate about, that really helps to create who you are as a person and giving guidance, because it's really about raising tides for us instead of just being that person that knows everything, because obviously we do not.
Right.
And so once we moved here and figured out, okay, how do we want to be a design firm? Like, what does that mean for us? And what it really means is we've kind of considered ourselves more as lifestyle designers. It's really about understanding our client and guiding them through the process. And when we say lifestyle designers, it really is about listening. And the definition for lifestyle designers, in our opinion, is really someone that is about collaboration, is about someone that kind of puts their arm over our client and guides them through the process and gives them options on how we can help to create their dream. and really take their investment into consideration. And it's about doing what I would do for myself is what we do for others. And I think that has really helped our clientele and guide us to now having a bigger firm than we originally did when we started. And I think it's through the relationships. And I can't ever stress relationships enough. You never know where that's going to take you. And one client leads to another client, leads to another client, and it just keeps building from there. We don't really advertise, we don't market at all. It's all word of mouth. And I think it's really just by being a genuine person and doing what is really meaningful for us is where it helps to thrive our business. And so we always say, just be yourself and get involved. That's really the most important. Um, and then once we did that, I'll show kind of an example of kind of a project that we currently just wrapped up. We are waiting on final projects, but in guiding our client, right, it's all about being transparent, and it's about having the client understand that we have their best interest at heart. And so for us, it's about really showing the client every aspect of what we're trying to achieve. And I know that everyone is so inundated in 3D renderings, and that is kind of the wave of the future. And that's exactly what we do. It's really about showing the client exactly what they're going to get and having them feel comfortable that it is black and white as far as making those decisions. And for us, everything is very thoughtfully selected and designed, and really just mold over on a every approach as possible to give the client exactly what they like and what they want, but also enhance their quality of life. And we really do feel that design does change lives, and it just helps to create spaces that can grow with a family, can help to enhance a family, can bring connection together. I think now more than ever, interiors are just so important, and can really just help to give ourselves a sense of calm. And so I have one last thing that I'll show, and then I'll open it up to any questions that anybody has, and I can kind of explain a little bit more process on that. But let me share my screen one more time. So this is a project that I'll kind of give you a little bit of background on. Clients just bought their first house. This is here in Dallas. And so they're very fortunate to buy their first house in Highland Park. And so the client came to us and said, we're buying this house as an investment. We love the way it looks. It's a Spanish, it kind of is a mashup. I would consider it as a Spanish Mediterranean style home. But they came to us and said, this doesn't really work for us. This is in the right location at the right price, but we really need to gut this to achieve something that really works for the two of us. And so what we do is really get to know them, listen to them, understand, okay, what is their daily function? How do they move in this space? Do they work from home? I mean, obviously everyone does right now, right? But how do they want to live in the space? How do they want to entertain in the space? How do they cook in the kitchen? How do they just what all of these day-to-day functions that they do? And we really try to create, a methodology behind enhancing those and really listening to the client to understand. And so based on everything that we did, we worked to get the floor plan for the existing footprint of the house. And then from there, we started to break it down into figuring out, okay, how can we compartmentalize this to really create something for the client? And so what we ended up doing was opening it up quite a bit. Our clients love to entertain. They have huge families, the two of them, but didn't really care too much about a formal setting. And so we decided to kind of bring in the dining table and the living room as one, making a big area rug and kind of bringing these two spaces into one room. And then opening up the back area that really took 6 different rooms. 2 of the rooms had different drop down heights, and really opening it up to figure out, okay, how can we create this great room, bringing the architecture into this space, into this remodel, because you could see the generations of remodel and it didn't really fit with the exterior. And for us as a firm, we really do believe that the architect needs to match the interiors, and the interior and the architecture needs to match the landscape to create a really cohesive palette. And so that's just what we did here was, but pushing it a little bit more on a contemporary level. And so our clients wanted this really big, great room where they can have a show kitchen and all be as one. And so what we ended up doing was creating a 3D rendering, which everyone does nowadays, but really giving them the sense of the scale, understanding exactly the details that we're trying to achieve, and then pushing them outside their comfort zone a little bit. And I think that to us is kind of the key to creating a great design, right? The collaboration of the client and giving them ultimately what they're looking for, but then pushing them outside the box. So it's not necessarily being a yes person. It's really, how can we take everything that your wish list is and then push you to create something that you might not have ever thought about? And so what we ended up doing here, which was kind of fun, is they wanted that show kitchen. They didn't want a bar height or a counter height seating. And so we came up with the idea of integrating the table into the island, doing a waterfall, which is dropping the stone on all 3 sides, and having the connection of this walnut table to the stone. And then creating a back kitchen. One area goes to the butler's pantry, and then one goes to the working pantry and slash laundry room, and then creating a really nice floor to ceiling stone that goes on the back here that's all really nicely lit. But we showed this to our client probably 12 months before the final picture was taken. And for us, it's exactly the same. We're really showcasing all of the detail, all of the color, all of the material. Because of COVID, we actually just finished photographing this project, so we haven't gotten it back from the photographer quite yet. So this is kind of a quick and dirty iPhone shot of a not finished product. But you can see here, we're really trying to achieve the same look, showing the client exactly what it does look like. I do have a quick photo of the finished product. Once again, you can see the same material that we're using here.
So I have a quick question, Brian.
Yes.
How did you give your client that gentle push to get them past their comfort zone?
I think it's really about showing them possibilities. And for us, it's kind of a fine line, because you don't necessarily want them to ever question where we're going with it or why we're doing what we're doing. So I think everything for us comes from a really thoughtful explanation and a thoughtful listening behind that, and then kind of pushing the client, so to speak. But I think it's really easy to push a client when you're really listening. And I think I say this a lot. When you're really listening, and then when you're really showing them from a thoughtful approach, like, there's always a methodology behind our madness, right? Nothing is arbitrary. Everything has a reason and a thought and a guidance to what we're doing. And so For us, I think because of the fact that we're showing them what it will look like, and then we're having a conversation, right? So once we present, we're having a conversation based on, okay, how do you feel? We always say we're giving our client homework after our presentation because we inundate them so much with possibility, right? That
Right.
they need to kind of reprieve and take a step back. And so what we always have them do is we say, we want you to do a little bit of homework. You know, we're giving you a book about that thick because most of the projects that we take on are full renovation projects, right? We're not just doing a bathroom or a kitchen. I mean, sometimes we do, but most of our projects are, you know, we're gutting a whole 7,000 square foot home or a new construction home. And so it's really about letting them feel comfortable and guiding. And I think our approach too is always, which we found so amazing about Dallas when we first moved here, is it's the approach of like putting your arm around someone's shoulder and taking them along the process. And for us, it's so important about having the client down each step of the process, because when they're along the ride, they understand what we're doing and why we're going there. And it's less about surprises, and it's less about saying, this is my design and this is what we see for your house, take it or leave it. You know,
Right.
it's about a collaboration between, you know, the owners and ourselves throughout the whole process.
Right. And you guys always do a great job with that. There is a question in the chat box. How
Awesome.
do you work with your photographers on your projects? It's a lot of work.
So I am super OCD crazy person, and
It's okay.
I obsess over everything. And I think, as a lot of us probably do, you know, when you're a designer, this is kind of a long answer, so sorry.
It's
But
okay.
I think when we're all designers, we're all kind of perfectionists in our own right. So for us, it's really, again, about establishing a relationship. You know, we use the same photographer all the time. He's actually a really good friend of ours. He's based in New York. He shot for Domino Magazine and Architectural Digest, and he's done a couple still life shots for like Tiffany's and David Yurman. And
That's
so
awesome.
for us, we have a good relationship where we collaborate together. And I think that that's really important to establish the photos that we're looking for, because, you know, we want to be able to massage here and there. And, you know, photography is really important to get the next project or to get into the awards like ASID awards, you know, community wise or statewide.
I would
Um,
agree with you on that.
and that helps to build your brand. And so I think photography is really, really important. And it's hard too, because you're looking at photography from a 2D image when we live in a 3D world,
World.
right? So, you know, it's really about working with him to capture his eye, but then your talent and your massage. And and one thing that I'll add on the photography aspect of it is, you know, my husband's really great at budgeting. He does all the money in the office. That's not my
That's
forte. I'm not
great.
good at that at all. But what we've learned to do is, every time we get a retainer from a client, that money automatically that we know is going to be for a photographer. It could be 1,800 to 2,000 to 2,500, whatever it is. We automatically put that into a photography account, that we know is going to be needed for the finished product. And I think that sometimes that's always overlooked. And then it's like, oh no, I have to photograph this project, where for us, you know, we have that in the account and we have already budgeted for that. And so as soon as a project's done, we will bring that photographer in ASAP.
And that's a great point, because a lot of times people do this beautiful work and photography is the last thing on their mind.
And it's
And so do what?
And it's expensive.
It's expensive, and it's always hard to get back in after you're done with the projects, right? Because people have started living in the space, and they don't necessarily want to take everything out just so you can get the pictures. You had another question from Tamara, and she asked if you were a photographer or did you study? Your fun pictures are amazing, and they actually really are.
Oh, thanks. No, I mean, I took a class at Pratt, a photography class one semester, but I don't know. There's a lot of really good automatic filters these days.
That's true. So as you said, you put your retainer into an account for photography. So another question was for the students, who normally pays for photography? Is it you or is it the client?
It's us. That comes out of our own account. The client doesn't pay for that at all. However, because of us going in and, you know, making a mess of their house for a day or a half a day, whatever it is, we do give the clients those photos
That's really nice.
as a thank you, as well as giving them a little gift.
That's great. That's a great thing to do. And Bryan does enter pretty much almost every design contest that's out there. And he does have beautiful pictures. And I think, again, like I said, that's one of the most overlooked things that designers do.
Yeah.
Do you work with professional stylists for your shoots?
I do not. I would love to. We haven't yet. I think it's important, but we haven't yet.
Does anybody else have any questions? Any of the students have anything that you'd like to ask Bryan? He's an amazing designer, and he does beautiful work all the time, and we all see his pictures are beautiful. So please ask any questions you have. He's all around. Oh, Kyra has a question.
Hi, you mentioned a lot about like collaborating with your clients. So I was wondering, when you showed that rendering, that like final rendering of how the kitchen would look, how much like sketches and like more schematic looking renderings and things do you show the client before you show them like the final, like this is what it's going to be?
Well, that's a really good question. We've kind of broken up our process a little bit. We always start lately with a floor plan, right? We want to get the client to really understand what we're trying to achieve as far as layout of kitchen, our bathrooms, even furniture. We want them to really see the whole picture as one. And so we'll start all the time with, setting up a meeting and showing them a floor plan. And we work and we'll show maybe two options or what we could do and get their input from there. And then from there, we will start to create kind of an image direction. We'll show the client that as well. And I think for us, image direction is really important. My last firm that I worked at, he would say, which I think is kind of an amazing quote, so I use it kind of all the time. He was like, design is like ice cream, right? We didn't invent the ice cream, we're inventing the flavor. And for some reason, that's always stuck with me, because if you think about it, it's really true, right? The way that we all design is through experience. And I think that's why travel is important. I think that's why just seeing things on Instagram or Pinterest or House or whatever that is really kind of dictates, something that maybe influences a design, right? And so we'll put together an image direction for our client to show kind of the atmosphere we're trying to achieve. And it really isn't a mirror or a copy of anything we're trying to do, but it's like, hey, this is kind of what has inspired us based on everything that you've shown. So we'll do all of those processes down the way. And then I don't show them any hand sketches. We really just move into 3-dimension. But once we do get the feedback from the client after that presentation, we're putting together a big design package where it's showing floor plan, it's showing lighting, it's showing furniture, it's showing stone, tile, everything that we're trying to achieve. And then we'll sit down with them based on their notes, right? We want them to do the homework we always say get a bottle of wine and just redline this to the nth degree, right? Because that's how we're going to hone in on being specific for the client. And then from there, we'll do revisions. Those revisions are going to be 3D again. So it's just really just creating those extra iterations. And I think that's what our clients really like, as far as, that's the process that I'm talking about, walking through them. And then we'll also take them to go see stone. We'll take them to go see tile if we need to, or plumbing. We just want them to really feel comfortable that we have their best interests at heart. And that's all is really important to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Answer, sorry.
It's a great question though. And your drawings looked very realistic to what your finished product, which is not always the case, right?
We call them cartoon sketches. We have the ability to do photorealistic if we want. However, we found that that's been a little bit of a disservice. And the reason I say that is because sometimes clients think that it's too finished, too finalized, that they don't have the ability to make decisions or to interact in changes, right?
Yeah.
And so for us, we like these cartoon sketches because it gets the point across as understanding scale, materiality, overall design. And then from there, we just hone in on changes that, we have with the client.
That's really great. Have you ever had a client not let you photograph their home?
We have, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we just didn't do it.
Aw, that's sad.
That's okay. Some people are private, some people don't mind it. I mean, we really have to, I think we really have to be transparent in that regards too, right? Because when we photograph, we want to use that to get more work, right? So if they're very private and do not want us to photograph, we have to honor those wishes, because, once we photograph it, we're putting it on Instagram, we're putting it on House, we're putting it on our website, on Google. We're trying to capture as much as we can based off of the products that we've done. And we're submitting those into competitions and publications and
Laura had a great question. Do you feel that there is a danger in taking clients to showrooms and that they can get overwhelmed and or distracted and off track? Because that never happens, right?
Usually it's just me that happens to.
Me too.
I feel like I have a small attention span sometimes, but no. And the reason why is because of the fact that we've already honed in on the selections that we've done. It's really about showing them in person bigger slabs, and even that sometimes we don't mind making adjustments, but we're going to tell you why it's okay or why we don't believe that we should change. So, it really does come from, a reason. It's not, hey, I think this is pretty. It's, hey, we've done a lot of research and we're breaking down a lot of design. Or we're bringing a lot of design solutions from the problems that you have. And there's a reason behind every selection. Nothing is arbitrary. Nothing is just, we like this for your house.
Right.
So we try to bring more of a thoughtful, approach to it. So I feel like our clients don't really deviate too much. I have an example. One client, it was kind of funny. We got her during COVID. We actually interviewed via Zoom. We got the job via Zoom. We presented via Zoom. And we made all of these selections. We even delivered the samples to her so she could see that. We had no contact with them up until recently. And she was like, I don't feel like I've had the experience of going to the showroom and seeing the material. And we're like, we have no problem taking you. Things are open now. This is a while back now. And so we did. And she was like, well, I love everything you did. We're still okay with it. And we're like, well, okay.
That's awesome. I have another question for you. So Veronica had a good question. Before you were able to get photos, who did you build your clientele when you first came to Dallas? So did you already have photos? How did you first start here in Dallas?
You know, I have such a good relationship with our previous bosses, or my previous bosses. They're still one of our good friends. And so in my contract, I was not able to use any of those photos. You know, it's all collaboration. It's not mine. I don't own the rights to them. All the ones I showed you, that is all Yabu Pushelberg's photography. I'm able to show, I'm not able to display,
Post.
to
Yeah.
get work for me, right? But what I did do when we started here, which actually was not in the best interest of myself, so I stopped pretty fast. I was showing clients all of the work that I've done in New York. Well, my background is in really high-end hospitality and luxury residential design in New York, where, you know, I've had a budget of, you know, $15 million just for furniture, you
Right.
know, and so showing clients that those that we had here when we first started just made it where we weren't obtainable. Even though we're showing you our fees, we're showing you what we can do. We learned really fast that we just had to stop that, and that it was really about creating a relationship with them. You know, I think that they just wanted to know who we were as designers and how we could help them. And so we would start getting projects without even showing any work. We would just start to show them sketches or ideas or developing that image direction. And it really took us, you know, I would say probably a solid year to a year and a half before we started to get into a role.
Do you remember who your first client was and how you got him in Dallas?
Yeah, our first client. So my husband started off in real estate when we got here because we thought that could help to open the doors, right? And so he was on a team um, with a lady that sold probably about 90 million, maybe it's more now, I don't know, of real estate. And so I said, hey, I can come style these homes to help, you know, make some money because we were just
Right.
living off savings. So we saved a lot before we started and made this jump. And so, you know, that was helping us bring in some income. And what we would do is we would just charge hourly to utilize everything that they had in the house and just create a style that I think felt warm and inviting and created a space where people wanted to buy it. And so we kept doing that. And we did one home that I think I literally probably made like $400 on, right?
Yeah.
And um, the client sold their home and we're like, oh, you know, I wonder if people are going to start coming back to us. Well, you know, they rented a house and then they came back to us 2 years later and said, we want to build our dream house now and we want you to be the designers. We love the fact that you were so cautious of our stuff and our budget and really kind of created something great based on what we have. And now we're building a new construction home and we're not using any of their existing furniture or lighting or anything. And so I feel like that's kind of the best compliment for us is really we feel like we're designers for life, or that's what we hope to do.
That is so great. That's awesome. That's an awesome story. Is anybody else, students, do you have any other questions for Bryan while we have just a couple more minutes left? Don't be shy. Oh, I have one more question. Do you ever use private Pinterest boards with your clients?
All the time. We always use House and Pinterest as a tool for our clients. I think that creates a universal language. You know, it is a way for our clients to describe what they're wanting without necessarily having to tell us what they want. Because, you know, we've had projects where a client said, I want white painted cabinets. And I was like, you know, we're taking inventory of everything that you have on Pinterest and House, and I'm seeing all of the stained cabinets. And so can you really talk to me a little bit about what you're ultimately wanting? And so that's a really good tool for every single designer. I know some designers think that that is not what they do, and everyone has their own process. But for us, it's a really great way to understand a client's taste level and where they want. And there's sometimes we have to kind of guide them to a better taste level. But you know, sorry, everyone's laughing at me.
No, no.
But,
So I agree with you. Sometimes they need that guidance. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. But really, I can't stress enough, get involved with your community. You know, I'm the chair of, you know, Dallas ASID, and we would love everyone to be a part of that, and help us, let us help you grow as a person. And we have some great product, or great groups now, to where we have the emerging leaders. I think that's the name of it.
Yeah, emerging professionals.
Yes, professionals, sorry.
No, you're fine.
And it's a great way to understand the industry, and don't be afraid to find a mentor. You know, I'd always be happy to do that. And don't be afraid to ask questions and ask other designers, because to me, we're only as good as what you know, right? And it's all about always growing and learning. And I think it's important to understand other designers, you know, maybe have been in the industry for 30 years. I feel like they can learn from us and we can learn from them. And that's how we all grow together. And that's how we build a community that only gets better, and that gets more awareness within the organization or in the world of why they should hire someone that is a designer that has an education and that really knows what they're talking about and can only enhance someone's quality of life through design.
And I agree with you. And I think that also you just make sure you know your reps, because just knowing I'm the Sub-Zero Wolf trade rep. So I call on all the designers. Ashlyn does for Sherman-Williams, she calls as well. And I think, you know, a lot of times we get clients that come in and ask us for referrals, and knowing you helps me refer clients to the right person. And I think, you know, just building those relationships, it's a really big deal. It helps all of us.
I will touch one more thing on my opinion on that, is, you know, we love our reps, you know, whether it's stone, tile, appliances, furniture, lighting, whatever it is, you know, they understand what everything is out there in their industry, right? They're the experts. And being a designer, you know, we're touching on all these different aspects, right? And so for us as a firm, we utilize our reps to the nth degree. We bring them in as a extension of our team. You know, for us, we have a team of 5, but through our reps, we have a team of like 200, you know, and it's bringing people in that are knowledgeable, that can help to grow. You know, we work with Sub-Zero Wolf, we work with, you know, all of these other companies, Sherman-Williams, and it's important to really establish your reps and get the relationship with them, because they really help you to become who you are as a designer as well.
We have one more question. I'm trying to find it in the chat box. Go ahead, Ashlyn.
Well, I can answer quick before we go, if y'all want to answer that, but I want to just get a word in about our sponsors. Anyway, Catherine, did you want to answer that, or do you want me to go first?
I can't find the question.
I'll find it for you. Ashlyn, if you want to take it away, just
I see it. Okay.
And then we'll get to Ann Terrios.
And yeah, go ahead. Ashlyn.
Okay, so our VVIP is Dallas Design Community. Thank you, Bryan, for that little boost in finances for supporting Student Symposium. Our VIP sponsor for the event is Fazy Rugs, and event sponsors include Catherine Nelson Design, Plinth & Chintz, Sherwin-Williams, Dallas Market Center, American Society of Interior Designers Austin Design Community, also Fiber Seal, Fabric Care System, and the Botanical Mix. And then we also have our mentor sponsor, Ludovici Dallas Design District.
That's awesome.
They're a bespoke boutique tile roofing system. Renee Design Solutions, and we also have Design with Veronica Sanders as a sponsor too. So we want to thank them because without them, none of this would be
Possible at all.
or at least not as awesomely possible. So
It's very
anyway,
awesome.
there you go.
Okay, so we do have
Yeah.
one more question, Brian.
Yeah.
Do you hire or work with young interns? If so, what are some professional tips that you would advise young employees to do or not to in a professional setting that are recent patterns of student behaviors that you have observed? This is from Anne.
Okay, that is a difficult question, but I'll do my best. So, yes, I kind of love teaching. I love guiding people on growing as designers. I had a great mentor growing up, and I think that that's something that's really important for us. My biggest tip that I would say is, a lot of people out of school right now love going to big firms. They love going to hospitality or big corporate companies. And my suggestion to you is that's amazing. But I also think about a small firm as well, because you're going to get inundated in everything. You're going to get to have your hands in everything. You're going to grow faster as a designer, as a person. Whereas you might be a little bit more one note when you go into a big firm, more CAD, more production, less getting to design, less getting to explore interaction with clients or tile or any design actually. And so that would be my one question. And then the other thing is, sometimes people are so afraid to ask questions. And I think it's really, there's no such thing as a stupid question. I know that sounds stupid, but there really isn't. I love when people are inquisitive and ask questions, but also are there to say, bring something to the table and speak up. I think that you don't necessarily always have to listen. I think sometimes you have a great idea as well. And I think that should be voiced. And so, find a firm that you feel like you fit in with.
That's so true. These all very great advice, Brian. Well, if everybody else, I agree with you, larger and smaller firms, everybody can find their niche. If everybody is good, nobody has any more questions, I think that we won't give you any more time back.
Mm-hmm.
We went a little over, but thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Brian, for all of the great and beautiful designs that you showed us. It's beautiful. You guys follow him on his Instagram page. He has some really beautiful designs that he showcases. And he has some fun Instagram stories too.
Yeah, and I'd also be happy to give my email. It's just Bryan, Bryan, at Yates Desygn, design with a Y instead of an I. Feel free to email me. I'm always happy to answer questions, explain, like some people are like, I want to go to grad school, but I don't know exactly what I should showcase. I'm happy to always help out as much as I can. And so please feel free to use me.
That's so sweet. Thank you again, Brian. And thank you to all our sponsors, and everybody have a great evening. It's so great to see y'all.
Thanks everyone for attending.
Yes, thank you all for attending.
I really appreciate it.
And thanks for all the questions.
Yes, thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.